It was my first day at Hill Ridge High, and I was buzzing. For weeks, I'd been working on a plan, and today was showtime.
Good morning, Hildridge family. Welcome back from summer break. This year is all about excellence in academics and behavior.
Crowd cheered wildly. I just stood there watching the scene unfold.
We are a family built on trust and integrity.
I almost gagged. You see, Principal Richardson knew nothing about honor or integrity. He was a liar, and everyone needed to know. Scratch that, it was my job to let everyone know. Right on cue, a red sports car screeched into the school's parking lot, and out jumped Principal Richardson's wife!
Gregory Richardson, you lying, cheating, two-faced toad!
Whose lipstick is this?
We can discuss this in private.
Without waiting for another word, Mrs. Richardson hurled the lipstick at his face.
Private? Like your private meetings with your secretary?
Were out and everyone was filming and laughing. Well, not everyone. The principal's daughter, Chelsea, looked like she wanted to die. Mom, Dad, please, not here! Not in front of everyone! She tried to grab her mom, but Mrs. Richardson shoved her aside and lunged for her husband, who took off running. Chelsea's face turned bright red with embarrassment under everyone's smug stares. And yes, it was all a part of my plan. But don't get me wrong, I had my reasons. I didn't do it for the clout. I did it for justice. I did it for my cousin, Riley. By the time I got home, I practically sprinted to Riley's room, like I had the winning lottery ticket. Riley, you have to see this! And then I showed Riley the video I had recorded of all the chaos that happened at school. You actually pulled it off? Yep, it was easy. All I did was expose the true face of Principal Richardson and his mistress. I secretly followed them on their date, and when they weren't looking, I slipped the secretary's lipstick into his coat pocket. You're insane! And we burst into laughter when I acted out the chaos of that wild morning for Riley. Riley, my cousin, is an angel, too kind for her own good. And because of that, people grew jealous and started bullying her. One day, a classmate pushed her so hard she ended up with a serious injury, forcing her to leave school and stay in a wheelchair for months. I couldn't just sit back. I was furious. So I transferred to Riley's school with one goal in mind: revenge. The first targets, the principal and his daughter, the student council president. According to Riley, they were the worst. Cold, careless, and completely indifferent about what happened to her. Worse, his daughter was happy about Riley's accident. She had hated Riley for a long time. Well, it's time they paid for it. The next day, Chelsea walked into class like nothing had happened. But Hildridge High had a memory like an elephant. A mean, gossipy elephant. Hey, Chelsea, is the school secretary your new stepmom?
Is it true your daddy is planning to run away with her? Your mom must be so heartbroken.
Then I saw Chelsea walk in and quietly sit all by herself in the far corner of the classroom, looking completely out of place. I thought it would make me feel satisfied. But strangely, seeing Chelsea that sad just made me feel awful. But the look on Riley's face when I told her about Chelsea today made me feel like I was doing the right thing for my cousin. I wish I had been there to see the look on her face. And did you hear? Principal Richardson resigned! And poor Chelsea, she'll probably lose her seat as a student body president. Okay, I said they deserved it, but this was starting to get out of hand. Riley, maybe we've taken this a bit too far? I didn't want to tell you this, but I went to the doctor today, and it's official, I'm never going to walk again! Oh my god, Riley! I'm so sorry, I really do want to go back to school, Sarah. Even if it's in this wheelchair, but I just can't. Oh, why not? Are you afraid of those bullies? Micah stole my diary and started mocking me for the little secrets I wrote in it. I won't be able to go back to school until I get it back. Even though I'd been at Hill Ridge for just a couple of days, I knew exactly who she was talking about. Micah was hard to miss with his skateboard, black hoodie, and permanent scowl. Micah's the guy? Alright then. I'll make sure that the bully gets on his knees and hands over that diary. I had a plan. I brought my skateboard and skated nearby, just to stage a perfectly accidental encounter. Let me tell you what desperation looks like. It looks like me, in a helmet 2 sizes too big, elbow and knee pads, and a borrowed skateboard I named Death Wish. Day 1 of Infiltrate Micah's World and Steal the Diary, I face-planted. Twice. Day 2, I rolled into someone's dog. The dog was fine. My dignity, not so much. And on day 3, I became a meme when someone filmed me flipping over a trash can. Guess who was watching the entire time? Micah. Enjoying the show?
Just counting the days before you break your neck.
Ouch! Sounds like something a villain would say.
Why are you even doing this?
Well, to develop myself?
You're terrible at it.
I guess I'm not good at anything. I'm so useless. So I faked some tears for sympathy, and ta-da! He fell right into my trap.
Hey, you're not useless. You just need to work on your technique. Alright, stand on your board.
See? Worked like a charm. Hiding a smile, I did as he instructed. And then, in a move I didn't see coming, he took my hands and helped me balance on the board. And holy mother of skate wheels, he had the most beautiful eyes. No wonder the sky is gray today. All the blue went into your eyes. What? No! Who said that?
Thanks.
At that moment, I wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Focus, Zara! Remember the mission. Do not let his handsomeness ruin everything. Over the next few weeks, I kept falling. He kept teaching, and somehow we kept laughing. Also, the more he helped me skate, the more conflicted I felt. He was so kind. It was hard to believe he was the villain. But that diary remained a mystery, even though Riley kept urging me to find it as soon as possible. His locker at school? Nothing. His backpack? Micah guarded it like a dragon guarding treasure. Until one afternoon, everything changed. We were at our usual spot in the park when a black motorbike sped towards us and we both jumped. The car is speeding towards us!
Zara, stay behind me.
While I was still frozen in shock, Micah rushed over and jumped in front of me, shielding me from that crazy driver. The driver sped straight at us, yanked Micah's backpack so fast it threw him face first onto the pavement, then tore off at a terrifying speed. Micah! Oh no! Heart pounding, I rushed over to Micah, who was laying on the ground, not moving.
My backpack. No. The diary.
Micah, hold on! I'm calling for help! As I dialed 911, I could barely breathe. Micah really had been carrying that diary with him all along, and someone had heard him to get to it. This was getting way out of hand. After an ambulance arrived, I helped Micah call his parents, and then I ran all the way home like the FBI was chasing me. Riley, you're not going to believe what just happened! But the second I stepped in, my words died in my throat. Riley wasn't alone. Her mom, Aunt Frida, was sitting beside her, and she looked angry. Uh-oh. Without a word, Aunt Frida handed me her phone. And when I hit play, my stomach dropped as I watched myself on screen, slipping a lipstick into Principal Richardson's jacket at the coffee shop.
You caused chaos at school and turned the principal's whole family upside down?
Riley told me she was being bullied at school, and the principal didn't care at all. You begged me to. And that's when Riley shattered my entire heart. What are you talking about? I had nothing to do with what you did. What's going on? Why would Riley say something like that? Just then, I saw something that made words evaporate. Micah's backpack, stuffed half under Riley's bed. Wait, isn't that Micah's backpack? Why do you have it? I don't know what you're talking about. That's my old backpack. It's always been there. Didn't you know that?
Stop arguing, you two! Zara, from now on, you're grounded for 2 weeks to think about your bad behavior.
I turned, stormed to my room, and paced like a caged animal. Why was Micah's backpack under Riley's bed? Could she really be behind all of this? Did she want that diary so badly that she couldn't wait any longer and actually paid someone to snatch it from him? And that secret video of me, was she the one who sent someone to follow me? But why would she do that? I have to find Riley and get the truth out of her. Over the next few days, I tried to talk to Riley, but she ignored me. All she did was sit in her room and stare out the window. It was scary, to be honest. What was she planning? At school, Micah was nowhere to be found. He was probably at home recovering, but I couldn't go see him because I was grounded. I wasn't even allowed to walk to the mailbox without supervision. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Aunt Frida dropped a bombshell.
To avoid any more trouble, you should transfer back to your old school.
But I don't want to. There was still something Riley wanted me to help with.
No need. Riley's going back to school next week. She says she can handle it on her own now, and there's no need to trouble you anymore.
Was it because Riley got her diary back? Did she not need me anymore? And want me to leave the school? My train of thought was cut short by the loud roar of a bike. And I saw the biker. What was he doing here at midnight? Probably to meet Riley for some evil mission. Making sure I was well hidden, I watched as the biker parked the bike behind a house. But when they took off their helmet, I got the shock of my life when I saw who it was. Riley's true colors made my skin crawl. The next morning, I went to Chelsea to get some answers. She told me Riley was known as the school's mean girl who collected secrets to control people. Riley had always tried to beat Chelsea for the student council president, but never succeeded. Chelsea said she had heard that Riley lost her diary while bullying a student and accidentally fell. Now everything made sense. I'd been a fool, a puppet dancing on Riley's strings, and the person she bullied? It had to be Micah. I walked into the school to find the whole school there, carrying welcome back banners while they waited for Riley to arrive. Riley rolled her wheelchair into the middle of the school lobby, then held up her diary with a triumphant smile. To the one who tried to hurt me, no worries. I'll be kind enough to leave that incident out of my precious diary. I had the perfect plan for Riley. While she was busy soaking up the fake cheers and attention, I quietly slipped into the crowd and waited for the right moment. I just want to thank everyone for welcoming me back. Being in a wheelchair is not easy, but to the person who pushed me, I want you to know that I've forgiven you. Ugh, a week ago I'd have believed every word she said, but now I wanted to scream at her. As Riley continued to give her heartfelt speech, I struck. Slowly, I tied a string around a fake spider's belly and dropped it onto Riley's thigh. The second it touched her, she shrieked. Then she jumped out of her wheelchair. You heard that right. She shot to her feet and dashed across the school lobby like she was training for the Olympics. And just like that, her diary hit the floor. And I swooped in and grabbed it. Give that back! Wow, it's a miracle. Riley walks again. It was only then that Riley finally panicked, realizing she had been exposed. But how did you know? I saw you on the bike. Riley, you've been faking an injury this entire time. That's right. Remember the mystery biker? It was Riley this entire time. She was the one I saw through the window that night. So what? Give me the diary. Now. Now that I have it, I'm going to destroy it so no one can ever use what's written in here to hurt others again. And then, right in front of Riley's horrified eyes and everyone's shocked faces, I tore the diary to pieces. I run the school. Everyone does what I say. As Riley sat there in misery, everyone else quietly walked away, relieved. Suddenly, a realization struck Riley. No, that's not it. I still have the coffee shop video. I knew you'd find a way to use it against me, so I've already written an apology letter to Mr. Richardson. Actually, don't worry, Zara. I've known about my dad's affair for years. What you did helped my mom finally wake up and let go. No! I'm telling my mom! You won't get away with this! With complete indifference, I walked out of school. I thought to myself, if Riley tattled, Aunt Frida would probably ground her for sure. There was still one person I needed to see. Without a word, I went straight to our old spot. The moment Micah saw me, he lit up with a bright smile. Hey, Micah, I'm really sorry for using you, for being manipulated by Riley, and for all the hurt I caused you and everyone else. And so I filled him in on everything. And you should have seen his face when I revealed that the biker was Riley.
I knew Riley was behind it all, but I didn't expect her to be so reckless.
I'm really sorry. Suddenly, Micah stepped closer to me. His shadow merged with mine as he gently took my hand and smiled warmly. That tender gaze moved me deeply. And though he said nothing, I knew in his heart he had forgiven me. From that day on, we grew closer than ever. We went to school together, skated side by side, and talked endlessly about everything under the sun. It felt like our souls were in sync, drawn together like two opposite magnets that couldn't help but connect.
Hey, Dan, how about we go to that Japanese restaurant I want to try?
But my mom's expecting me home for dinner.
Dan awkwardly replied. Again? I rose an eyebrow. Predictably, his next move was taking out his phone and calling Mommy Dearest.
Mom says eating out is very expensive. It's your idea, so you're paying, okay?
Excuse me? Did I mishear him? Unbelievable. So, through gritted teeth, I said, Forget it. I'm going home. Then I left him standing there with a stupid look on his face. Yep, that idiot was my boyfriend. Dan. He's in his 20s, but every conversation is still, my mom this and my mom that. It's so exhausting. At first, I thought I'd found a manly, impeccable man to rely on. Instead, it just goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover, y'all. It all started with me coming back to the country, and it was hard finding my feet here again. Also, I hadn't had a boyfriend for, let's say, a long time. I wasn't that desperate, but my auntie insisted on matchmaking me with this cute guy. I thought, why not? First impressions, Dan was fine. He'd just graduated from a prestigious college, and he seemed so gentle and kind. We spent a good time chit-chatting, so yeah, after that we started dating. It was swell at first, but then the abnormal details about him began to surface. We arranged a date at mine once. The plan was to cook a meal together, then relax watching a movie. But as soon as he arrived, he walked straight over to the couch and started watching TV without any helpful intention. I dragged him into the kitchen, passed him a carrot and the peeler. He looked confused, then stuttered, but I don't know how. I tried to show him, but despite explaining it in great detail, Dan still fumbled to peel one lousy carrot. Then, yep, you guessed it, at one point he called his mom. Then he told me, "My mom says the kitchen is a very dangerous place. I could cut or burn myself. We could go back to my place. My mom can do the cooking." I glared at his arms akimbo. Or we can eat out," Dan mumbled. "Only if it's on you, Claire. It's not my fault." I growled while shaking my head. "Fine, then I'm not coming with you." Then I pushed him out and slammed the door shut behind him. What the hell just happened? Still, I told myself that maybe he was just scared, since he has never cooked before. One time we were in a clothes shop, and I spotted this shirt that I knew would suit him. It wasn't his usual style, but I insisted he tried it on, and ooh, he looked so good in it. Dan seemed to like it too, as he admired himself in the mirror, then said, "It does look nice. But wait, can you please take a photo so I can send it to my mom? Well, she's the one who buys all my clothes, so..." What? So now he needed approval from his mom before he bought anything? Jeez. Anyway, I took a couple of photos and he sent them to his mom. They exchanged messages, then he turned to me and said, "Okay, Mom says you can buy me it." Me? My eyes widened. "Yeah, Mom says you chose it, so you should buy it for me." Wait, what? I literally froze for seconds. Speechless, I could only glare at him before I found the means to leave. "Claire, what's wrong?" Dan chased after me, but I ignored him. Okay, I admit that after a few dates, it was easy to figure out he was a total mommy's boy. But I told myself that it was sweet he loved his mom so much, and I never expected it to be that extreme. After that, I used the silent treatment on him, but he wouldn't quit bugging me. Then, he told me he wanted to take me out to my favorite restaurant as a birthday treat. Ooh, this sounded great! Perhaps he'd realized something and wanted to make it up for me. We were holding hands and walking toward the restaurant when we passed by a shoe store, and in the window display were the perfect pair of boots. Well, I'm a girl, and it was my birthday. I pulled Dan's arm. "Danny, look!" I pointed at the boots. "I want those." I grinned from ear to ear. "Okay," Dan replied blandly. My smile faded. I mean, they'd make the best birthday present. Ugh, since when did a girl like me have to ask for a gift? "Why?" Dan shrugged. "You like them, I don't." My face reddened with anger. "But it's my birthday." Dan scratched his head and forced a smile. "Sorry, babe. Last night I spent my allowance on some new games, so I'm broke now." Pfft, I sneered. "Why don't you ask your mom?" And he unexpectedly went mad. "Hey, you're obviously the wealthier one. How come you keep asking me to buy you stuff?" Enough! I stopped dead. I have never, ever dated anyone as awful as you before. You're a grown-ass man, so stop running to your mommy every time you forget how to turn the kettle on or stub your toe. And why on earth do you still get an allowance at your age? It's over. Then I turned to leave without letting him have the last word. So freaking unreal. Trust me, to arrive back in the country and end up straight into this bizarre mommy's boy circumstance. But yeah, at least I was finally free of him now. It's been a few weeks since then, but just the thought of Dan still made me so mad. Ugh, I needed to get out of here and live a little. So I called my close friend Philip and arranged to meet him and some of my trusted guy friends at a bar.
Cheer up, little girl, he teased. I know what will put a smile on your face. Our gaming group found this hilarious player. All we have to do is throw a few compliments his way, and he buys us all new items. Then, whenever we go out partying after a victory, this noob also pays for it all. What an ego. I mocked, "Congrats, bros. Wish my ex-date was also that generous." Then I rolled my eyes. He never spent a cent. Well, at least not without asking his mom for permission first. Philip laughed with a surprise. Hey, this noob's the same. He brags that despite being broke, his mom came up with the idea of matching him with rich girls so he can be covered. Hold up, that didn't sound right. I had a real bad feeling about this. Then Philip pointed across the bar and said, "Oh, speak of the devil," and patted my back. A chill ran down my spine as I took a deep inhale of breath and turned to see it was Dan. And oh, he had a new girlfriend already. I quickly made up some excuse and bailed before they saw me. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Dan's new girlfriend. Whatever Dan and his mom were doing was no less than scamming. So I arranged to meet up with Philip at a diner, and I confided in him about my history with Dan and how I was concerned about his new girlfriend. Philip offered to help and said he would try and find out more information. A few days later, he reported back with his findings. Turns out, Dan and his mom had learned the Claire lesson, so this time with his new girlfriend, Lizzie, they were playing it differently. Dan, as his mom had ordered, took some sensitive photos of Lizzie, and now every time she refused to pay for something, he threatened to post them online. OMG! This made me feel so sick. This poor girl was trapped and were sucked dry of all her money. This was extortion, and I was going to put a stop to it. It didn't take long for me to find Lizzie online. I then dropped her a message saying I wanted to help, and we arranged to meet up in person. After hearing me say that I knew the truth, Lizzie burst into tears. "I can't let those pictures get out, so I have to keep on being his girlfriend and pay for everything." She rubbed the tears off her cheeks. "I had to borrow money, and now the interest means I'm in thousands of dollars worth of debt, and I still have no guts to speak out. Let's put an end to this." I slammed my fist on the table. "Be brave, Lizzie. I've got your back." The day after Philip and I went with Lizzie to tell her parents, it was bad. Her mom started blubbering and tried to cover her face while her dad went furious. "No one does this to my little girl and gets away with it." Philip replied, "Too right. The bad guys are going down." We spent the rest of the day gathering evidence, including all of the threatening messages Dan had sent her and the receipts she'd kept from the extortionate purchases he'd forced her to make for him. That was when Lizzie received a message from Dan. "There's this expensive restaurant I want to go to. Babe, take me there tonight or else. Love you, X." Lizzie replied that she agreed. Then, knowing Dan was out, we went around to his house. We confronted Dan's mom as soon as she let us inside. She was frightened and eventually confessed that she didn't have a job and it was Dan's dad who provided for them. As a result, she spoiled Dan so badly that it annoyed his dad, so he left. Then she sadly blurted out, "He didn't say a word to me. He just left Dan a note that said, 'Take care of yourself and your mom.' I knew Dan would be miserable without his luxuries, so I told him to find a rich girlfriend to spoil him, and this time," she looked from me to Lizzie, "to make sure she would be too trapped to ever leave." There was a knock at the door. She looked at us awkwardly before she went to answer it. We followed her, and that was when we saw 2 cops arresting her. She bursted into tears as they took her away. I guess she thought she was a devoted mother who was doing right by her son, when, in truth, she went about it in totally the wrong way. She ended up going to jail, and her house was sold to pay off Lizzie's debts. As for Mommy's boy Dan, as an accomplice, he ended up doing community restitution. Hey, this would probably do him some good, as he'd finally learn what a day's hard work actually felt like. Thankfully, Lizzie gradually got over this traumatizing event and was ready to start dating again. With Philip. About me,
Well, I'm still single, but I don't feel lonely anymore, as I have awesome friends. Besides, this way I have no guys bumming money off me.
It was just a regular school day, and I was sorting out my locker when suddenly I heard hushed whispers and noticed that everyone else was staring at something. Okay, so turns out it wasn't a something, but a someone, as this pretty girl strutted down the corridor like it was a runway or something. Ugh. Why was everyone gawping at her, rushing over to greet her, and sticking notepads in her face for her to sign? I hugged my books and muttered, geez, there's nothing special about her. So, my name's Lily, and I'm just a normal girl. My family, yeah, they're normal. My appearance, normal. And my social status, well, that's just normal too. I coast through life, and that's it. Nothing exciting ever happens to a regular girl like me. Oh, how I long to be the perfect looking girls on Instagram. They're so flawless in their clear skin, stylish clothes, and glossy hair. But those girls were different. They were from different worlds. Oh well, at least I still had my books, my bestie Sarah, and my cute boyfriend Brian. But this all changed when Stacy rocked up at school with her perfect looks and her "I'm so sweet and friendly" routine. Yeah, right. So, what if she had a prettyish face and a bit part in some TV show? Underneath the fake shine, she was clearly not all that. I walked into English class to see her sitting at the desk next to mine. Ugh, great. I couldn't even get to my seat because everyone else was surrounding her, asking her dumb questions such as, "What shampoo do you use?" and "Do you get snack breaks when you film your show?" Geez, give me a break instead. Then, when I finally managed to sit down, she smiled at me and in this sickly sweet voice said, "Hi, I hope it's okay I sit here. I'm Stacy." Yeah, sure. I forced a smile back, but on the inside, my anger was boiling over. Who did this girl think she was? So what if she was beautiful? I bet she only cared about her looks and never bothered studying. Yeah, everyone else would soon realize what a failure she was. Then, one time during recess, Stacy, the living Barbie doll, suggested we start a yearbook, and now everyone's treating her like she's achieved world peace or something. Ugh! You know the worst part of it? I've been saying we should start a yearbook for years, but no one listened to me. And guess who received so many welcome cards and love notes that they fell out of her locker and obstructed the hallway? Yup, Stacy. Gosh! It's been like weeks already. When will these stop? I hated how she thanked everyone and blushed and I needed to be around a sane person who didn't think the sun shone out of her. She was everywhere. It made me sick. But thank God for lunchtime. It became the only peaceful time of the day for me, when I could hang out with Sarah and not have to worry about Stacy. But, what was this? What was that Barbie doll doing sitting at our table and talking to my best friend? I walked over there and placed my tray down next to Sarah. "Oh, hi, Lily. Stacy just said the funniest thing." "Great," I muttered under my breath. Lunch was an ordeal. Sarah ignored me and kept on asking Stacy dumb questions like, "Is your co-star Kyle as handsome in real life?" And "How do you style printed skirts with a colored tee?" Yawn! Later that day, due to a paint spillage in art, I was 5 minutes late out. Sarah had agreed to drive me home, but I went out to the parking lot. Her car wasn't there. Then I checked my phone and saw that she'd messaged me. "Where are you? I can't wait anymore. I'll leave first with Stacy. See you tomorrow, X." What? Is she ditching me to give that phony a ride? We had been friends since childhood. How could she be fooled for Stacy's act and just throw away our friendship like that? Angry, I messaged her back, "You abandoned me for Little Miss Popular? How could you? I get it. New one in, old one out. Well, thanks a lot." My phone buzzed with her reply. "Lily, you know it isn't like that. You live up the road from school while Stacy lives much further away and she needed to get back in time to get ready for her filming schedule." Madder than ever, I quickly typed out my reply. "Whatever. It's too bad you'll always be a nobody in her eyes and she's just using you for a free ride." Then I chucked my phone onto my bed. I'd had enough. Sarah had made her choice, and it was to be friends with that fake over me. Sarah may have fallen into the Stacy trap, but at least I still had Brian, right? One afternoon, I was talking to him out in the schoolyard when Stacy tottered past. Even her try-too-hard walk was annoying. She smiled over my Brian, then she deliberately tripped up and dropped the books she was holding. I grabbed Brian's arm to stop him from going over, but he shook himself free from my grip and went over to her anyway. I watched him help her pick her books up, and then she blushed and squeaked out a "thank you." She was the worst. When he walked back over to me with this big grin on his face, I couldn't take it anymore. So I blurted out to him, "How dare you leave me to help her?" He gave me a confused look.
Lily, I was just helping her out.
Yeah, right. You knew she dropped them on purpose to get your attention, but you went over there to her anyway because you think she's prettier than me. He sighed.
You're being ridiculous. You know what? I can't deal with your selfish, jealous streak anymore. Let's just call it a day. We're done.
Then he walked off. I stood there watching him, expecting him to cool down and come back. Only he didn't. This was all Stacy's fault. She'd stolen my best friend and my boyfriend. No more. It was time to show her that she wasn't so perfect after all. I scrolled through her social media pages for ideas, and it soon became apparent that she loves boys with toned abs who ride motorbikes. How predictable. I discovered this website where I could hire a boy to play with her heart, then ditch her. It's about time she learned how much it sucked to be undesirable and worthless. Ha! I found the perfect guy called Josh. He was 19, a gym addict, and he had a motorbike. Whoa, he was expensive, but it would be worth it, right? I arranged to meet him at the local coffee shop, and geez, he was even more handsome in person. I wished I could use this money to actually make him mine. Sigh. So the deal is, he's gonna flirt with Stacy, make her love him deeply, and then break up with her. The next Monday, I walked out of school to see Josh parked up to the school gate, holding his helmet and looking like he belonged in a movie. Naturally, every girl was staring at him, but he made a beeline for Stacy. Then, just 1 week later, I saw him picking up Stacy from the school. Whoa! I knew that! I knew I had chosen the right person. Josh was such a lady killer. They looked super close, and I had to remind myself that he was just an actor and he was doing his job. Ha! She was gonna be so heartbroken. But a few weeks later, and he was still picking her up. Huh? Why hadn't he broken up with her yet? So I called him up and asked him what was taking him so long. He replied that he would do it soon. He was just making her fall for him more before he did it. Brutal. Only the weeks passed by and he still hadn't ended it. Then I was walking past the movie theater and I spotted them there, kissing. What? This was not the plan! Furious, I had arranged to meet him the next day at the coffee shop. He walked over and couldn't even meet my eye as he said,
I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I will refund you as soon as I can.
Why? Have you fallen in love with her or something? I said jokingly. There was a long silence. Then he looked down at the table and muttered out,
Yeah, I have.
Why was I the only one on the planet who saw how fake she was? Thanks to her siren ways, I lost my best friend, my boyfriend, and now my savings. This was it. I needed to confront her. The next day at school, I tried finding her, but she was nowhere to be found. Then, as I passed through the school garden, I saw her sitting there. Gotcha! It's time to tell her exactly what I thought of her. I stormed over to her and opened my mouth to speak, but why was she crying? When she saw me, she managed to smile and said, Oh, hi, Lily. Is there a chance you could help me? I stared at her with disbelief. Did she think I was under her spell and would do her bidding? But then I saw what she was crying about. In her hands was her English essay with a big F on it. So I replied, why me? You're so smart. You answer all the questions in class correctly. I don't want to be judged on my bad grades. That's why I left my last school. The other kids call me a brainless beauty. I moved here for a fresh start, and now I'm still failing. Okay, so in that moment, I realized that there were things I was good at. My grades were good, and I was pretty great at remembering facts. I'd just been so blinded by jealousy that I lost focus on these things and only saw what I didn't have. None of this was Stacy's fault. She never actually done anything bad to me. I'd made it all up in my head because I was jealous of her. So I sat down next to her and said, "No one's gonna call you that because I'll help you study." "You will?" She gave me a hopeful smile and I nodded. "Thank you so much," she flung her arms around me. So that's how Stacy went from being my enemy to my friend. She's actually a really sweet and kind-hearted girl. No wonder why everyone admired her so much. And I was wrong to judge her on her appearance and not give her a fair chance. She's still with Josh and she doesn't know that I hired him to break her heart. But hey, she now has a hunky boyfriend who adores her, so that could be considered compensation, right? Brian and I are still over, but thinking about it, maybe this was for the best. I know I overreacted, but he gave me up so easily. And well, I want to find a guy who won't do that. As for Sarah, I went around to her house with a bag full of her favorite candy, and I apologized for being a jealous jerk. Luckily for me, she forgave me. Now, Sarah, Stacy, and I have become good friends. Sarah and I both help Stacy with her studies, and she gives us fashion tips. And you know what? I've come to realize that I'm pretty after all. I just needed to discover my spark. So finally, I learned that no one's perfect. Perfection is just an illusion. The most important thing is that we feel happy with what we own and never stop improving ourselves. So just be you and let everyone else concentrate on being them.